Social media has ruined the car scene. Now, this has happened through a ton of different ways. I'm gonna go over some of those in the video and just some of the ways that we as a community need to kind of change things up. And if we want to be able to keep enjoying our cars, if we want to be able to enjoy modified cars, if we want to be able to do things with our cars, we really need to turn things around and we need to do it quick. Hey guys, my name is Logan at Cream Tag, and yeah, today we're just kind of going over how the car scene has really gone down the drain. Even just in the past few years, how much things have changed and how important it is that people address issues and just kind of understand where a lot of the problems within the car scene come from. I think the biggest issue right now is just the toxicity of people online. Now, of course, this has always been a thing, you know, people hating on each other for little reasons. Since social media has been a thing, people have been photoshopping photos, putting on excessive amounts of makeup, or just trying to make themselves look better for the camera, and it's not reflective of what life really is like for those people. I think where the line needs to get drawn is when people make it seem like they've got something that they don't. People are no longer satisfied with nice cars anymore. It's got to be the best, coolest thing out there. If you don't have a Supra that makes 1,000 horsepower and is on TE37s, has NOS and a big turbo and all these things, then your car doesn't count. It's not cool, it's not good enough. That whole issue just kind of spawned out of the idea that people have nice things on social media and they always look nicer on social media than they do in real life. I can use my own car for example. Now, I've never tried to hide anything about my Cream Integra from you guys. I think it's pretty clear what the condition of the car is, but at the same time, there's a lot of people who think that that car was in a lot better shape than it was. This car, a ridiculous amount of Bondo, had rust under the chassis, and everything about this car was just wrong. It ran great, it drove great, but at the end of the day, the chassis was rotting away. There was a ridiculous amount of Bondo on the car. Now, from a distance or in photos, it looks beautiful. It looks really, really nice. Part of that is, you know, now where this has become an issue and why social media has made this such a problem is because it's taken cars like mine, for example, and people get a skewed idea of what a 16 or 17-year-old can afford. Not to toot my own horn, but they see this really nice car, they see a 17-year-old driving it, and they think, oh, instantly either that's daddy's money, or if he can do it, then I can do it. And then all of a sudden, it increases what people think is a nice car. At the end of the day, a stock Integra is still a nice car. Named like the best handling front wheel drive car of all time. They're incredibly reliable, they look good, and they're just a ton of fun. Instantly assume that all of these cars should look like this, and every 16 or 17-year-old should be able to afford a car like this, which is doable for sure, but at the same time, you know, also doesn't hurt to have a base model Civic as a first car at that age. Even those are really great cars and really good platforms to build off of. And what this leads into now is kids who will buy these cars and they'll buy them in super rough shape because it's the only thing that they can actually realistically afford. They want them to be nice and cool and all. So instead of doing basic maintenance, instead of maintaining their cars and keeping them in good shape, they spend their money on things like underglow or a cold air intake or a really crappy $200 eBay exhaust, or like just cheap parts and Surikawas and all of these little things. And you get a car that's totally ratty and is what we would define as a ricer, you know, or just a poor quality car in general. It's because they want their car to be like super nice and have all these cool fancy parts on it, but they can't afford super nice parts, and they've looked away from doing maintenance or getting something that has a good chassis, and they buy something ruined and they ruin it even more. So really at the end of the day, you have a car that looks good on social media, it's not as good as it seems, or people Photoshop things to make it seem like it's better than it is. And then people hold these cars to a super high standard. You see these cars are like similar quality in person, you think that, oh, they're not that great because you've seen better on social media. Things aren't always as nice as they may seem. Now here's another thing that has like happened really since social media has gotten really big, And that's just the price of cars have skyrocketed, you know, just since social media became really popular. It used to be like 240s were a really good cheap option to get a drift car, same with E36s and all these cars, and now you're seeing people trying to sell these cars for 10 grand or more. You see 240s all the time. It's like a clean one with no rust. It's like 25 grand. And you're just like, why the heck are these cars so expensive? And really what it is it's, you know, car culture becoming more popular and mainstream because of social media, and more people want these cars, and since there's less and less of them every year and more people wanting them, it drives up the prices. There's nothing really we can do about this one other than maybe just stop buying 240s for 25 grand. They're great cars, but they're really not worth 25 grand. Now this next thing kind of ties into like the first bit that I kind of mentioned, and that's the whole idea of like, oh, you don't have this, so your car's not good enough. You don't have 1,000 horsepower Supra, so your car just isn't cool. Your car that you have put $20,000 into, built tastefully with high quality parts, built the motor, built the exterior, made it look nice, and turned, like, you know, this car into a full track car. It's not good enough because you don't have a Supra with 1,000 horsepower. And it's super common for people to compare the most extreme things in the car scene, like the highest, and like how many people actually have 1,000 horsepower Supra? If you have 1,000 horsepower Supra and you're watching this video, how many other people have you met with 1,000 horsepower Supras? In fact, I would almost put money on the fact that I don't think anyone watching this video is gonna have a Supra with 1,000 horsepower. It's just not a common thing to do. But anyways, they take these cars that they see, you know, in videos that are viral because it's a one-off thing, it's not very common, and they compare it to, you know, someone in their early 20s who works full time and has a project car, you know, for their free time. I saw somebody look at a really nice, like, blob-eye Subaru STI and say that a Supra would gap it. At the end of the day, okay, maybe it would, but at the same time, stock for stock, I don't think that's gonna happen. Now, I'm not saying one's better than the other, but it's just an example of people looking at something that's a really nice car and that looks really nice and is really well done, and comparing it to one of the most extreme things in the car scene and just being like, oh, it's not good enough. I remember seeing a Aventador at Euro Cars and Coffee, and somebody saying that a Koenigsegg is cooler. Okay, sure, but an Aventador is still an Aventador. Now, one thing that really grinds my gears on the social media side of the car scene is people who buy a car or buy a project car purely for clout. Build it on social media. They do it because it's popular. They do it because everyone else is doing it, and they want to do it because they want to look cool. I know people have been doing this for years, building cars or getting cars because they want to look cool. I mean, it's your classic midlife crisis, right? 40, 50-year-old man goes out, buys a 5.0 Mustang and wraps it around a pole, or a, you know, a new Viper or something like that, because they want to look cool, they want to seem cool. Yes, that's been happening for a long time, but I mean, at the end of the day, it's people who will buy something like a BRZ, which is, I mean, realistically a really good car. They're really well made, regardless of some of the hate that they get. And they take these things, slam it so that you can't drive without the frame dragging along the ground. Poor quality underglow. They'll buy poorly fitting rep body kits, cheap wheels that look awful, and they'll call it a build, and they'll think that they're better than everyone else because they have 100,000 followers on Instagram or TikTok or whatever. What I think people really need to understand is that at the end of the day, numbers on a screen doesn't make you more or less of a human being. It doesn't make you more or less of a person. Get a car and enjoy it for what it is. If you're getting a car for clout, at least build the car in such a way that you're really gonna enjoy it. Now, I had my Integra slammed for a while, and I will admit, I did it because I thought it looked good. Looking back at it, it wasn't it, you know, and it just wasn't fun to drive, which is why I ended up raising the car. Really ruined the driving experience when, you know, you have a passenger and you rub and you scrape everywhere. It's just not fun at the end of the day. And what I think people really need to start doing is, instead of building or modifying their car in such a way that is going to please other people, they need to do it to please themselves. Now, this next thing is going to be probably the biggest one. This is the thing that I hate the absolute most about the car scene, what is really ruining it for people all over the world, and that is takeovers. If you participate in takeovers, you need to stop immediately. It requires absolutely zero driver skill in order to turn the wheel over, floor it, and spin out. People are getting hurt and killed. And people who do these kinds of things, you know, it reflects on the entire car scene. I know that takeovers is realistically a small portion of what we would consider the car scene. At the end of the day, it's the loudest voice that stands out the most. And currently, takeover culture has the loudest voice in the car scene. I mean, at the end of the day, people involved in takeovers are ruining it for everyone. It is so incredibly, very easily possible to have a calm, relaxed, safe car meet and be able to really enjoy it. Realistically, what I'm trying to say here is just be respectful of other people. That's kind of the whole thing of this whole video, is just be respectful of other people. I'm not saying you have to go and respect all builds. I'm not saying you have to go up to the person with the bone stock 2020 Subaru Outback with a Surikawa and tinted headlights and say, hey, nice build, man. But what I am saying you to do is respect the person. At the end of the day, we're all human. We're all on the same level. No one is better than another. The best way to stop having to see, you know, these poorly modded cars modded is just to show these people respect and just maybe guide them, you know, instead of being like, your car is trash, say, hey, here's some things you could do differently. Constructive criticism over cyberbullying, I think, is really important. Maybe if you're watching this, maybe you're looking for a new car, maybe you're looking for a first car, you're looking for a project car. I recently did a video on some of the best first project cars that you can buy. You can go check that out here. As always, if you guys enjoyed the video, remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Peace.